So you have a lot of time on your hands, right? Well, you don't have a lot of time on your hands. You don't have any time on your hands, but you still go to conferences, you create content, you do podcasts like this. Most MSPs will see you doing all this and say, I can't even check out for a minute, or I can't go to that conference because I'm locked into the office or whatever. What is your secret to managing your time and team to where you can leave for a week and know that things are going to be okay?
It that is a really tough one because I don't feel I'm as good at it as other people I know that have been able to compartmentalize better than me,
Mm,
but I have always been the anti-micromanager. I've always been, working to empower the people around me so they can make decisions, so they can make things, and I really don't understand some of the mentality where people have that they assume as the business owner, you play the most important role by being involved in everything, and that's really and maybe it's because they don't have anything else to do, so that's what they end up doing, and I've watched so many of my friends, and this goes outside of the scope of even tech businesses, and everyone has worked for a micromanager, and
mm,
they just watch every little thing going on all the time, and I've watched so much energy put into it, and I'm like, my energy goes into, how do I do big things? How do I bring in more business maybe? I think a lot about strategy, the whole, the famous words, you work on the
yeah.
business, not in the business.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's so few people ever take that to actual heart.
Yep.
It is hard, and I think especially with technical people, because the majority, probably 90%, I'm guessing here, are technical founders, so they never want to let go of hands-on keyboard. And they have a hard time trusting. It's really weird. Some of the besides any of the marketing questions I get, probably the top question I'll get from people that want to start an IT business. Well, how'd you hire someone else and actually let them have control of something?
Mm,
Like I couldn't ever give 'em my admin password. I'm like, well, if you don't give an admin password, they're never going to do their job.
mm,
like
yep.
they, and you'll watch people bounce from place to place as technicians trying to find. Like, I worked for a guy, but he basically had to do every password approval for everything. So, and he still took days off and nothing got done because no one can do that. So thinking about how you're going to empower the people around you, how you're going to give them responsibility. Once you start from that mindset, you'll do better to do it. Um, it's just you need a day off.
Yep.
Well, maybe you don't. I don't know. Some people don't think they do, but I need to be able to go to a conference.
Yeah. That's so huge. Like in my own, I see that in my own world right now where it's like anything I'm really doing a lot of like self-evaluation. Like anytime I'm the bottleneck, where it's like we haven't done that thing because I'm waiting on Taher. I'm like, all right, how do I make sure that I can never be a bottleneck? Where if you're waiting on me more than 2 days, you can just do it yourself. And it's a lot of things. It's unfortunate because I'm like, holy crap, like all of these things depend on me, and that's not scalable. And you're right, like, the owner of Alltech, Tom, for the longest time, it was him and 2 people at the MSP. So he was so used to doing all of the things and having the techs do the tech work. And so over the last like 7 years, I've had to like rip things out of his hands. And every time we do that, we improve as a business and he becomes more comfortable with doing that. But I think it's just he's been burned a couple times in the past and things like that. So it's just such good advice, Tom. Like any of the MSPs listening, like if someone can do something 60% as good as you, then it needs to be delegated, right? Because at least it's getting done rather than
Yeah.
being pushed off.
Yeah, you slowly work on that. And, maybe to a fault I've done it, and been trusting in people. That's gonna happen happen because someone
Yep.
says, "Well, have you ever been burned, doing it?" I'm like, "Yeah." I've been in business for, 20 years now because I was, coming up on 20 years next year. So with 20 years, yes, I've been burned. Yes, people stole from me. Matter of fact, one person, went around me in the billing. So when I say stole from me, like literally they just went and talked to a client directly and got paid for certain things, and of course didn't disclose this to me. And those are things that can occur. And people are like,
Yeah.
oh, you weren't watching close enough. I'm like, no, I got rid of that person, and you find someone else that you can trust.
Yeah.
The majority of people are honest, but that fear. Like even I don't get jaded from it. I'm like, obviously that particular person, was not a good fit for the company.
Yeah.
And it turns out, because you sometimes, in circles keep track of people for a while, and you're like, wow, this once you get to know them, you're like, wow, they went and kind of had a disaster campaign at several other places. And you just learn that some people, they're not the majority. You remember them better than some of the others because of that, but it shouldn't stop you. It shouldn't be what holds you back because the majority of people are good. good, then 99% of them are good. So if you are unlucky enough over a 20-year career to come up with two people that have done something like that in 20 years of being in business, I think you're ahead of the curve. You're fine. It's statistically not as likely to happen. So
Yep.
delegate those tasks. You got to get some other stuff done.
That's huge. And that's huge because it's like, yeah, there's going to be some negative, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be some negative. You're scared of if you're paralysis by analysis of that little bit of negative versus the positive that comes from what you've done and what an MSP can do. Like it way outweighs it.
Yeah.
So great, great point.